when my parents threatened legal action unless I handed over my house to my sister, when my parents warned they'd sue me if I didn't give my house to my sister, my attorney chuckled. And I knew I'd finally broken free. Growing up, the favoritism was blatant. Sophia always got the latest clothes, private tutors, and lavish vacations. I got sermons about self-reliance and effort. At 16, I was slinging burgers at a rundown diner while she jetted off to Europe for the summer. When I raised the issue, my parents told me to understand their priorities. Translation: Sophia's future mattered more than mine. Initially, I wasn't resentful. I just assumed that's how families worked. Parents pour resources into the child they think will shine, while the other fends for themselves. So, I did just that. I hustled through college, shared cramped apartments with flaky roommates, and skipped nights out while others partied. Every dollar I earned, I saved a portion. I wasn't sure why I needed a cushion, only that no one would be there if I stumbled. Post-graduation, I faced a choice: settle for a dead-end job or take a risk. I poured my savings into a small auto repair shop. It wasn't flashy, long nights, endless hours, weekends covered in motor oil, but it worked. By year 5, I was earning enough to consider buying a home. My parents knew this. I'd mentioned my dream of owning a place instead of renting a tiny apartment, but they'd smile and change the subject. My mother would sigh, "Sophia's been struggling so much. Rent's so expensive." My father would chime in, "She just needs a little support. It'd mean a lot if she had stability." They never said it directly, but the expectation was clear. I was supposed to solve her problems. Never mind that Sophia's struggles were self-inflicted. While I worked 16-hour days, she lived large, trips abroad, designer bags, and dinners at fancy restaurants. Yet somehow she was the one who needed help. Then there was the money. I'd been helping my parents financially for years, covering home repairs, unexpected bills, even slipping them cash when times were tough. I didn't mind at first. They were family. But then I noticed things: my mother's new handbags, my father's shiny new watch. At first, I thought they'd been saving up. Then I realized the truth: they were funneling my money to Sophia. My parents weren't struggling, they were bankrolling her lifestyle. Then I overheard a conversation that changed everything. I'd stopped by their house to drop something off, not planning to stay. As I passed the kitchen, I heard my name. So, like anyone would, I paused and eavesdropped while pretending to check my phone. "I'm sure he'll do what's right," my mother said. "He's responsible." My father agreed. "He's been saving for years, it's only logical. He can't expect her to struggle, he's her brother." Struggle, Sophia. The same Sophia who'd never paid rent and still had my parents cover her credit card bills. Something wasn't right. Then it hit me: they were talking about my savings. My heart raced as the truth sank in. They had a plan. I'd buy a house, not for myself, but for Sophia. And the worst part? They assumed I'd just agree, as if it was my duty. I wanted to barge in and confront them, but I knew how it'd go. They'd call me selfish, lecture me about family and duty, and remind me how lucky I was compared to Sophia's struggles. I'd heard it all before. I needed to think, so I left quietly. That night, lying in my small studio apartment with its flickering kitchen light, I replayed every moment I'd been told to wait my turn, every sacrifice I'd made, every time I'd bitten my tongue. I thought about Sophia and how she'd react if she knew their plan. Would she be ashamed, grateful, or would she just assume it was owed to her? I got my answer the next morning. Sophia called, bubbling with excitement. She rambled about a house she'd found, 3 bedrooms, a backyard, perfect for her to finally move out. I waited for her to mention how she'd pay for it. She didn't, because she didn't need to. In her mind, it was a done deal. My parents had clearly promised her. She even offered to let me crash in the guest room if I ever needed a place. That was it. I was done playing their game. The next day, I did what they expected. I bought a house. But not the one they wanted. I kept it secret, no big announcement, no explanations. I chose a place I loved, put down my deposit, and signed the papers. It wasn't huge, but it was mine, the first thing I truly owned. I thought I had time before they found out. Maybe months, maybe a year. But life has a way of speeding things up. While setting up my new kitchen, scraping off the previous owner's tacky, live, laugh, love stickers, my phone blew up. Missed calls and texts from my mother, father, Sophia, even distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Then came the text that made my stomach sink. Why did we hear from the realtor you bought a house? I didn't know how they found out. Maybe the agent let it slip. Maybe Sophia was eyeing the same listings. It didn't matter. The fight was coming. My peaceful move-in was over. My phone kept buzzing, angry texts, worried voicemails, all laced with betrayal. I ignored them. Answering would mean getting sucked into their narrative where I was the villain. Instead, I focused on my house, tackling the hideous living room wallpaper. Then the doorbell rang. I knew who it was before I opened it. My parents stood there, not like family, but like executives ready to scold me for breaking a deal. My mother's face was a mix of disappointment and pain, the kind she used when I forgot to call. My father, arms crossed, looked ready to negotiate a takeover. I braced myself. The next 20 minutes were predictable. Accusations, guilt trips, and the classic, "we're family" speech. My mother lamented how upset Sophia was, unsure where she'd live now. My father made it clear they expected me to do the right thing. My favorite was their claim that after all they'd done for me, this was how I repaid them. All they'd done, like charging me rent as a teenager, paying for Sophia's designer clothes while I worked 2 jobs to afford school, I'd repaid them 10 times over. I stayed calm, nodded, and let them talk. Arguing was pointless. They weren't here to listen, only to enforce their story. Then came the ultimatum. My mother, with forced calm, said I had 2 choices: give the house to Sophia or be cut off. I nearly laughed. Cut off from what? Their conditional love, the family that only valued me when I gave. I said I'd think about it, not because I would, but to get them out. They left looking smug, like they'd won. I grabbed a beer, sat down, and stared at my phone. More missed calls. Sophia finally texted, and I knew what it'd say, something about ruining her life, how she'd counted on me. But when I opened it, my blood ran cold. She'd accidentally sent a message meant for someone else to our family group chat. It outlined their plan to pressure me until I gave up the house. It was all there, clear as day. A calculated scheme, not about family or fairness, but a takedown. I screenshot it, saved it, and sat back. For the first time in years, I felt clarity, not anger or sadness. They'd never seen me as family, just a tool. I decided I was done explaining myself. The next morning, I took control. I called my bank to lock down my accounts, changed passwords, secured documents, and installed security cameras, knowing my family might try something desperate. I contacted a lawyer to check if my parents could cause legal trouble. He assured me that as long as the house was in my name and I hadn't signed anything for Sophia, I was safe. Still, I wasn't taking chances. Later, Sophia texted, offering to talk if I'd make things right. I ignored it. My mother texted next, worried and suggesting a family dinner. I wasn't falling for it. Instead, I flipped the script. If they thought pressure would break me, I'd show them pressure. I posted on social media a simple photo of my house with the caption, "Finally home. Earned this. It's mine." Friends and extended family congratulated me, but Sophia saw it. She texted again, furious, accusing me of embarrassing her by going public. Apparently, her friends asked why she couldn't afford a house if I could. Her ego was bruised, and she hated it. Then my father called, no longer pretending to care. He was livid, saying I'd humiliated them, demanding I fix it. I said, "Nothing to fix." That's when the threats escalated. They'd disown me, bar me from their home. My response: sounds like a win-win. For the first time, I felt no guilt standing my ground. I blocked Sophia's number, muted my parents' calls, and enjoyed takeout on my porch, watching the sunset over my hard-earned home. I was free. The silence didn't last. By morning, my inbox was flooded. Sophia was in meltdown mode, my parents in damage control. Extended family saw my post and started asking questions, and my parents scrambled to save face. Sophia went nuclear online, posting dramatic captions about her struggles and how she'd been betrayed by those closest to her. She even started a GoFundMe, "Help Sophia Find Her Dream Home," painting herself as the victim of her heartless brother. It raised $20, probably from a clueless friend. I was almost impressed by her audacity, but this was getting ridiculous. I needed to end it before it became a public feud. I posted again, this time with screenshots of Sophia's text outlining their plan to strong-arm me. No commentary, just the caption, "Clearing up confusion." The internet took over. Friends who'd supported Sophia went silent. Some turned on her, realizing they'd been misled. She deleted her GoFundMe and locked her accounts. My parents faced heat from relatives questioning their behavior. The family group chat went quiet, no more guilt trips, no more calls, just silence. It was glorious. I sat on my porch, music playing, drink in hand, no longer waiting for the next crisis. I'd done right by myself, and that was enough. The quiet lasted a week. I expected one last push, but they seemed to realize I wasn't budging. Then came a certified letter from my parents, a legal notice claiming I'd misled them into thinking I'd bought the house for the family and demanding compensation for Sophia's emotional distress. I read it twice, stunned by their desperation. My lawyer laughed, calling it a baseless scare tactic with no chance in court. I wasn't worried but wasn't taking risks. I secured my accounts again, upgraded my home security, and sent a certified letter warning of legal action if they continued harassing me. The calls started again, my mother's tearful guilt trips, my father's rants, Sophia's pleas. I ignored them. On the third day, I answered my father's call. He offered to drop everything if I'd work things out with Sophia. I said there was nothing to work out. He exploded, calling me selfish, saying no son of his would treat family this way. I let him vent, then calmly said I had nothing more to say, wished him well, and hung up. The legal threats fizzled. The guilt trip stopped. Sophia went silent, likely latching onto someone else. For the first time, I was truly free, no manipulation, no obligations, just me and my house. The first weeks of freedom were surreal. I'd spent so long bracing for their next move that waking up without dread felt strange. My house became a home, not a battleground. I built a routine, morning workouts, home-cooked meals, coffee on my porch. I finally had space to live. Then one afternoon, a knock. It was Sophia, looking desperate, not entitled. She tried small talk, then asked to stay just for a bit. I didn't let her in. She admitted our parents had cut her off, their reputation tanked after the drama, and even her friends ditched her. She wanted an escape from her mess, but I wasn't her fixer anymore. I told her to stay with our parents, they'd always bailate her out. Her mask slipped, anger flaring as she called me selfish. I shrugged. She stormed off, and I felt only relief. Days later, at a coffee shop, I overheard Sophia complaining to someone about having to work a job, whining about how hard it was. The other person looked ready to snap. I grabbed my coffee, passed her table without her noticing, and smiled. Her problems weren't mine anymore. That night, my mother texted, one last guilt trip about family sticking together. I ignored it. They'd spent years treating me like a tool, not family. I wasn't cold, I was done. And for the first time, I owed no one an explanation. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.